Welcome to our very first video for the 2016-2017 school year. In this video we are going to simplify and combine like terms. Okay, so we're just going to be reviewing what we did in previous courses, and I just want to give you a few tips. I'm sure you probably remember a lot of this already. But in the first 10 problems, we're just simplifying each expression by combining like terms. What do we mean by like terms? Things that are alike have either a variable, like the negative 10n here, and the negative 9n. Those things are alike because they both have a variable. We also need to consider the sign that is in front of that coefficient. So the other things that are alike would be the 6, because it does not have a variable, and the positive 1. So we're going to combine the things together that are alike. So the things that I circled in green, the 6 plus the 1, that's a 7. And the negative 9n and the negative 10n, we're just going to go ahead and add those together because the signs are the same. So we end up with negative 19n. All right, so our final answer is right here. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. I'm going to do about 3 problems from each section, and then I'm going to allow you some time in class to work on the other remaining problems. So let's go ahead and circle the things that are alike. I see a 1 and another 1. Those things are alike because there's not a variable with them. And then we have 8b and negative 3b. Remember, you have to look at that sign that is right in front of that term. It's not just 3b, but it's negative 3b. All right, so if we combine the things in green, 1 plus 1 is 2. And if we continue going and combining the things that have a variable, in this case it's a b, 8 is positive, negative 3, so that's going to be 5b. Okay, and there's my final answer. If you would please, on your assignment there, go ahead and put a box around your final answer so that I can see it real clearly. When I come around to check your work, I'm going to want to see your answer in a box. Okay, let's go on to number 3 then. In number 3, I only see this one term with an n. Okay, so I'm not going to have to combine that with anything else. The 1 does not have an n or any variable. The 8 does not have a variable. So I'm going to say 1 plus 8 is 9. And then I have my 2n, which I didn't combine with anything because there's nothing to combine it with. And so that is my final answer. So you do not have to circle or, notify me that you know what things are alike. I'm just doing that for the video. But if it helps you, go ahead and do that. Maybe circle the things that don't have a variable, put a box around the things that do have a variable. That can draw attention to those things, and don't forget to draw attention to the sign. So remember, back in number 1, we had a negative 10n, and we had a negative 9n. Okay, so the sign that's in front there is very important. Okay, I am going to give you time to work on those other problems, but right now let's take a look at number 11. In number 11, the directions state, simplify each expression by distributing. Okay, and you probably remember what distribution is. It's taking the number that's outside the binomial, or the parentheses, and multiplying it by everything inside the parentheses. So if I wrote this out, if I write out this whole thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to multiply by 9v. That's going to get me 18v. Okay, that's just my first step. Now don't forget to distribute that 2 to the 6 as well. So 2 times 6 equals 12. And then I have to write the statement that these two are going to be joined, right? My final answer is going to be 12 plus 18v. Okay, could you write it 18v plus 12? Absolutely. If there's a plus sign there, you can switch those two terms around. So if you wanted to write your answer 18v plus 12, that would also be acceptable. All right, so it doesn't matter to me the term, which term goes first, the term with the variable or the term that doesn't have the variable. Generally speaking, in most situations, you will see it with the variable listed first, okay? So go ahead and try number 12 now. I'm going to do it with you, but just check your work. So 3 has to be multiplied by 8n. So 3 times 8n is 24n. I also have to multiply 3 times negative 7. This is a really important thing. Make sure you notice that that sign is negative. So I'm going to do 3 times negative 7, which is negative 21, right? A negative times a positive is negative. So what is my final answer? My final answer is 24n minus 21. Okay, be really careful. A lot of times students just think that they can write minus 7. Okay, you have to distribute the 3 to that second term also. Don't leave that second term out. Don't leave it hanging. Okay, number 13, we're going to multiply 7 times negative 2r, and we're going to multiply 7 times 5. Okay, so 7 times negative 2r equals 14. It's actually negative 14, Mrs. Steinberg, negative 14r. And I'm going to multiply 7 times 5, which is 35. And you do not have to show me all these steps, but I'm just showing it, all this work for the video so that you can see what I'm doing. So my final answer is negative 14r plus 35. Okay, if you don't write it with that variable term first, then your answer would be 35 minus 14r. Okay? So just make sure that the negative sign does not get left off, because the answer is incorrect if you leave off that negative. Okay, so these two things that we've shown in this video so far should just be review. We've reviewed the combining of like terms. Okay, we did that for numbers 1, 2, and 3, and you should be finishing 4 through 10 on your own. And then I showed you the distributing property, and that should be familiar with you as well. Now when we go to the back side, there are 10 problems that you're going to need to combine all of this stuff together. You're going to need to distribute, and you're going to need to combine like terms to give me an answer. So let's take a look at a few of those problems on the back. All right, so what we have so far on the back is that we have some complicated stuff here. Let's pick this apart a little bit. If we look, we have a distribution thing that we have to do right here. Okay, so we're going to distribute the negative 5 to the 9, and we're going to distribute the negative 5 to the negative 3r. When we multiply two negatives, we end up with a positive. However, this negative 6r is kind of hanging outside of the parentheses there. So we're going to add that on at the end. So that's something that we're going to have to do. This is going to take several steps. So be patient with yourself. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is negative 5 times 9. What is that? That is negative 45. Okay, now I'm going to distribute the negative 5 to the negative 3r. That gives me positive 15r. And then do not forget that we have this at the end here that we need to tack on. Okay, so we've done our distribution, and our next step is going to be combining like terms. So if you look at the directions, take a look at what it says here. It says simplify, okay, because we have a complex problem here. Simplify by distributing first. That's what I did here. And then combine like terms. So that's the next thing I have to do. What are alike? Well, 15r and negative 6r can be combined, and I would just get 9r, right? 15 minus 6 is 9. And then don't forget this part. It does not have anything. We can't combine it with anything else. Doesn't look like anything else. It's just negative 45. No variable with that term. So I end up with 9r minus 45. Okay? Now the advantage of watching a video in this case would be that you can rewind the video. If you're watching this video at home, you rewind it. Maybe you missed a step. Maybe you didn't understand why I did a step the way that I did it. Rewind it, watch it again. So even though this is review, I want you to see the advantage of watching a video in class or at home and then being able to watch it again if you need to. Okay, let's take a look at number 22. Remember, we're going to distribute first. 4 times negative 7. 4 times x. Don't forget to distribute to that second term there. And then we had this plus 10 kind of hanging out outside the parentheses there. We're going to tack that on. Now, what things are alike? Which terms are alike? Well, I see that I have a negative 28 that does not have a variable, and I have a 10 that does not have a variable. I'm going to combine those together. So I'm going to end up with negative 18, and then the 4x here does not have anything to be combined with, so I'm going to end up with that tacked on with the negative 18, and here's my final answer. All right, so number 23 is next. This is the last problem I'm going to do with you. Now, as we've gone through the video, if you can think of any questions that you'd like to ask, we will be answering questions in class. So you can either write some questions over to the side, possibly, if you have any, or put a little star, put a little circle around the problem that you want help with, and then as I'm walking around and helping people in class, that's when you can get your question answered. Okay, so let's go through 23. 10 times 1 is 10. Distribute that 10 to the second term. 10 times 7n is 70n. And then we see the plus 6n tacked on at the end. Do not distribute the 10 to the thing that's outside the parenthesis. Okay? So now I have to combine the things that are alike. I see a 70n and I see a 6n. Those things are alike because they both have a variable, so I have 76n and a term with not a variable. This 10 does not have an n with it, and now I have my final answer. Okay, so hopefully you watched this entire video. Hopefully if you have any questions, you're going to ask those in class. And this is how homework will be done for this class. You will watch a video, pretty short usually, take the notes that you need to take, and then there will be an in-class assignment following on the day that you return with your notes. Thanks for watching.